Thank you so much for joining us. I first want to thank you for your service to the country, and and your continued service, obviously, because you're continuing your education process and helping people understand what's going on in the country. So I want to thank you for that as well. I want to dive right into it because you were engaged in a very heated election that was loaded with heightened rhetoric, as many elections are. A lot of fear-mongering, baseless accusations, but which I'm sure you were ready for, but probably the most shocking of which was that so many in your own party turned against you. I asked former Congressman J.D. Hayworth on Saturday the same question, and I'm going to pose it to you as well. How surprised were you of the opposition that you faced within your own ranks?
Well, we knew that we'd face some opposition just given the fact that we were a non-status quo outside the establishment candidate that really was no longer going to play the way things have been done in Alaska for decades. And a lot of the folks that kind of wear the Republican name, I call them rhinos, are there because of what they see as the benefits they can get from the party, not because of the platform of the party. In fact, many of these people are about as opposite of the platform as you can get. They're just there with their hand out to receive, benefits, the quid pro quo that power brings. And when you upset that apple cart, when you suggest that's not the way we're going to continue to do business, they get engaged and they try to turn people against you. And that's what happened, but that's what, Alaska's not unique. I mean, anywhere where you're dealing with the incumbents that are used to providing benefits to those in power, you're going to face that kind of opposition. You'll be able to see that in any of the candidates that run for president that are outside of the establishment. The same sort of thing will probably happen.
If you would have been elected and you would have had the privilege to serve the great people of Alaska, what would be the goals and the agenda that you would move forward with? Did you have any kind of legislation that you want to push that you were writing down in your head, jotting down on paper, speaking to other people with, like Senator Jim DeMint, and so on? What would you have pursued?
But let me just speak first to the optimistic tone that you struck, and I agree. I share that optimism that, what we saw in this last election cycle, even though a lot of the Tea Party candidates did not win, still many of them did make it through their primaries. Clearly, they had an impact. I mean, those that really want to bring true reform to this country that come from kind of outside the establishment cloth, those numbers are increasing. And this is a movement, Alex, that's very, very young. I mean, we're 2 or 3 years down the road of the Tea Party movement, and yet we're able to actually send candidates to D.C. Many of us made it to the primary, and absolutely D.C. is now listening to a certain extent. I mean, the debate, as you've heard, has changed on the spending issues, but, that's precisely what I would have focused on had I been in Congress. I mean, when we look at even what happened in this last budget with the $327 million cut in this fiscal year, it wasn't $38 billion, obviously. It was much, much less than that. That reflects that even though the debate may have changed from how much more are we going to spend to how much are we going to cut, we're still screaming at just an incredible speed toward the edge of the cliff, and we have not had the fundamental change that needs to happen as far as our orientation to D.C. goes that's necessary to get us back on track. I mean, what we have got to do in this country, and this is what I will continue to fight for even though I'm not serving in D.C., but certainly what I say to the people is we have got to change the way that D.C. interacts with we the people. It can no longer be the answer to everything. It's driving us into bankruptcy. Even if the economy does start to get a little bit better, and I would argue that the signals that we're seeing right now are not all that positive, the fact of the matter is we can't continue to spend at the rate we're spending. We can't continue to grow a government that continues to invade the backyard of, every common, average, everyday American. I mean, we dealt with a situation up here in Alaska where for a period of time we were prohibited from burning wood in our wood stoves because of the EPA. I mean, those type of overreaching actions by the federal government should never have been in place. They've got to be rolled back, and we've got to get D.C. back into the limited role that our founders intended. And that really is what the fight's all about, is getting liberty restored, and that means a fundamental realtering of the way that we look at D.C., the way that D.C. interacts with the states, the way that D.C. interacts with average, everyday Americans.